Conversations from the Barn at Everwood Farmstead. These are casual chats with visiting artists. Creaky barn, bugs, and all. Enjoy. Hello and welcome to Conversations from the Barn. I'm Bill Underwood. Today, in a rainy Everwood barn, I have the honor and privilege of speaking with Olivia Willett. Olivia is one of this year's Aspiring Artist Fund recipients, and we're thrilled to have her here. Welcome to Everwood, Olivia.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Can you tell our listeners about where you teach and what do you teach?
Yeah, I'm from Osceola, Wisconsin. That's actually where I grew up, and now I'm a teacher there. I teach 6th through 12th grade choir, so I have about 4 ensembles, middle school through high school.
And so your application, I will say, struck a nerve with our board. It was one, every year I feel like there's always an application when I read it for the first time and I think, that's a sure thing. And tell us a little bit about your application, please.
Yeah, so I was interested in just obtaining some music for our music library that had more representation of people of color with different races, ethnicities, and then also to women composers. So I felt that there was a lack in our music library that has hundreds of pieces in it with those specific groups of people. So I was really hoping that I could just gain some music that even if we weren't going to use next year, that would continue to be in that library and people would have access to, teachers would have access to, students would get access to through the pieces that the teachers chose.
One of the reasons it struck such a nerve with us is we had worked with a local musician and a local singer who are working together in the Twin Cities to shine a spotlight on exactly what your request sought for, and that is to shine a light on diverse composers and to give them a voice and introduce a whole new genre of composers to the world. So sadly, we're not able to present them this year, but it really did. And when I shared with them that your application, they were thrilled to learn that a local teacher shares the same passion that they did. So they congratulate you as well on your award. So talk to us about, there's 5 composers that your application, you sought to purchase music from these diverse composers. Tell us about some of them, please.
Yeah, so I think when I'm looking for music, a lot of my mindset has always been on looking for diverse representation, and a lot of that comes from budgetary needs, how many pieces can we actually buy. So this grant has been giving me opportunity to just put them in there and be able to pull from them eventually. So I really just looked for pieces that again had women composers and people of color in there that maybe weren't just spirituals, but were a variety of things that we could use for a holiday concert, we could use for a spring concert, and kind of had just a broad meaning of text too. I'm all about empowering students through the music, and so I think that this is a great opportunity to not only give them like a text as Still I Rise, that is empowering to them, but then to say this is written by a woman who is Black, and what is the power in that itself, that she has a voice as a composer, and even just the history of composers and the importance, like you said, now of having different representation. So every composer is a little bit different. I think there is a Winter Winds in there, and can you remind me who that's by?
The piece Winter Wind is by composer Brandon Williams.
Yeah, so when I looked at these pieces, I would listen to them. I would be able to look into the score and say, why do I really want this piece? I'm interested in this composer. But I think with like Winter Winds, that was cool because it's for the students that maybe don't celebrate Christmas or don't celebrate a certain holiday, but it's just about winter winds. So that's really an easy one for us to be able to put into a holiday concert and give to our audience and say, here is a winter-themed piece, but it's not necessarily a Christmas piece. And also, by the way, it's by a Black composer, and so I think there's really unique opportunities in that. There is a great gospel piece in there called He Never Failed Me Yet. Is that right?
That's right, by Robert Ray.
Yeah, so that's really cool too because it's a different genre. Kids are excited when we sing a few gospel pieces. We do one at the end of each year, but it's really cool to be able to give them more and to also help them like see, okay, this is what gospel looks like. It's a little bit more loose. People are a little bit more willing to communicate with each other when they sing, and even just the instrumentation. I think that usually that comes with like a drum set and the piano and other instruments, so that's an opportunity for other musicians to even be a part of that as well. So those are some really cool pieces. There's a piece in there by Andrea Ramsey. I worked with her when I was in my undergrad. She was an artist in residence, so she actually came and I worked on conducting with her, and we just had conversations about the music that she writes and how she writes it really accessible for students to kind of connect with in different ways. And so that's really cool too. So she's done a lot of cool work, and she's a really cool conductor. So that's another opportunity to say, especially to my female students, here's a female composer. She's writing some really cool stuff, and she's writing this for you. So it's not like it's, somebody random from 100 years ago. Like, this is for you. So, and then I think that last one is, I believe, can you remind me of the name? There's one more person I'm missing.
Elaine Hagenberg.
Yes, Elaine Hagenberg.
Awake My Soul.
Yeah, so she is another one. I think she's actually a local artist as well. So we're just excited for the opportunity to have some more women at the table as well.
That's fantastic. So your father is a math teacher, and your mother is an art teacher. And I think it's important to know this represents the second generation winner of the Aspiring Artist Fund, because your mother, Peg Medcraft, was a previous recipient. She also teaches at your school in Osceola. Mm-hmm. So you've sort of raised by a right brain and a left brain teacher, if you will. Yeah. Talk about the importance. And I know that's very important to you with your students, and really embracing their right and left brain sides.
Yeah,
Say
definitely.
more about that.
Yeah, so I feel like I definitely related more to my mom growing up in just terms of art. I was very expressive, and I could see that in the music. But as I got more into upper level music, I started to learn about the theory of everything. And I started to see that really music is math. Like, it is a language, there is counting, and there's all of these different like structures you kind of have to remember. So it's cool to see definitely how the math brain kind of works with the artistic brain. And I feel like once you have that math aspect down, you can read the music, you can count, you can read the text at the same time, you're using all of that part of your brain, then you can start to get that artistic expression into it, and you can use those other skills. So it's a great way to combine creativity with just like developmental thinking that they can apply everywhere in their life. So yeah, I think it's been a really cool opportunity for me to be raised in such a setting where I get to see that math side and I get to see that art side, and I got to put it together, and now I'm teaching it to other kids. So, I'm pretty open with them on that. I try to encourage them to think that way, that I think I have a lot of kids that are like, I don't like math, or a lot of kids that are like, I'm not very good at art, and it's like, whoa, wait a second, this is everything. Like, you've got all of it going on. So yeah.
Talk to me about your favorite part about teaching kids in your music room.
I honestly think I have some pretty big class sizes, so I think my favorite part is those individual lesson times, and sometimes they're one-on-one, sometimes there's like 2 or 3 in a room, but I feel like that's really the time that I get to teach directly to them, and I get to meet them where they're at and kind of help them develop. And maybe that's in their math part of it, maybe that's in the theory part of it, maybe that's in the developing their voice, developing their confidence in their voice, or maybe that's really like for the learners that are way out there digging completely in and challenging them in new things. So I think it's getting to take the music that we're working on, bring it into a lesson, and kind of deconstruct it with each student individually. Gives me a really cool opportunity to get to know them and to challenge them each in their own place.
It's no surprise that oftentimes art programs, music, pottery, are the ones that are cut first. Talk to me about that frustration.
Yeah, I think definitely there's even just a weight that can be put in a school on how we perceive certain areas. So I think sometimes, some schools, I think that there's a great backing behind a strong arts program that's been there for years and years, and the community takes a lot of pride in. But then you see schools, where the focus is on a sport or something else, where there has been a history of a really strong program. So I think that can be difficult as a choir teacher when you step in and you can see the potential, but you don't really feel like you have the support in that. So for me, that's just really about how am I portraying it in the community too? Are we giving the students opportunities to step outside of the classroom and to say, look at what we're doing in the classroom. We're working on all of these pieces, we're building our voices, and we're going to come out and just share some of that with the community. So I think part of that too is just the strain of supporting such a big group and supporting the time that it takes for that, because choir is always changing every day. You may have a plan and then your students don't quite get there, they don't get to the music you want, or their voices are doing something different, and so you have to be able to adjust and say, okay, so tomorrow we're going to do this instead of what maybe I had originally planned. And so even developing my own skills as a musician through choir, because I'm trying to play the piano while listening to 4 different parts sing and doing behavior management and conducting and there's so many pieces, so it's just a challenge of kind of like you're juggling a lot of things. So how do you keep it all afloat and feel the support from the people around you?
Well, congratulations again on your award, and thanks for being such an inspiration to lots of teachers and for being an inspiration to us.
Yeah, thank
Congratulations.
you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to Conversations from the Barn at Everwood Farmstead. Our theme music is provided by John Mark Nelson. Wishing you all good health.